Hey everybody, it's Greg Harrelson. Here again on our Tuesday live call on the Real Geeks Facebook Facebook mastermind page. Sorry about that. And
Sorry.
of course, you see a familiar face here, Abe Safa. Abe, I'm ready to get going. I'm sure you are too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is a good topic today, Greg. I like this one.
Yeah, how to manage the shift. So Abe and I came up with some different, a few points, maybe 10 points, 8 points. Who knows? We may end up giving you 11. But I think it's appropriate to talk about managing the shift. And Abe, you noticed I said manage the shift, and I chose the word manage intentionally because manage would mean, or let's just assume that something's actually already occurring, like that. We're not talking about is the market shifting or not. Now, if you go back 6 months ago, as an audience, you would find us talking about a potential shift months and months ago. So it's kind of funny how everyone's talking about, oh my gosh, the market's going to shift. No, it's been shifting for 6 months. It just takes 6 months for people that are not really focusing on it. It just takes about 6 months before people start to feel it. But the early signs were way back then. They were there. So now we need to move into a different conversation, and that is not is the market going to shift, and I understand somebody's going to probably chime in and say, oh my gosh, there's no inventory. I get it. The market is still shifted in your market too. I'm pretty much going to declare it's shifted everywhere. Now, that doesn't mean it's crashing anywhere. It just means it's shifted. And if you look at if you just look at what happened on Wall Street, just yesterday, you'll see that there's some things out there that people are really, really concerned about. So let's talk about it. Managing the shift, Abe. Where do you want to start?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So let me mention one other thing, going back to what you were talking about. So, yeah, I don't think anybody anywhere in the country can look at the numbers, look at the data, look at the conversations they're having with people, and really say that there hasn't been a shift. Now, the
Yeah.
one thing I want to make sure we're clear on is when we say there's a shift, that doesn't mean that the market just completely flipped upside down. It's not a coin flip, heads or tails, right? What a shift means is we're starting to see a change. Okay, and I think it's pretty clear across the whole country that there is a change that's happening, meaning that inventory is starting to rise. Yes, it's still very low inventory. We're still, I think, nationally at 1.5, less than 1.5 million homes out there on the market for sale nationally. So it's still a very low number. So that doesn't mean when we say to manage the shift, we're not saying that all of a sudden we're in a buyer's market. That's not the case. We're just saying that the
No.
market is changing, beginning to change. So I want to be clear on that. So the first thing on the list, Greg, is admit that this is real,
Yeah.
right? So for 6 months, especially you've been talking about because you've asked me, it's been a while now. Like, are you seeing a change in the conversations? Are people telling you something different? So you've picked up on it. It's probably been about 6 months. So I think at this point, it's pretty real. Like, we all know that, look, things are changing, things are happening. There's a lot of uncertainty in the stock market, in the economy, inflation, gas prices, all kinds of things happening right now. And so you have to first start by admitting that, okay, it's here. The market is going to be different now than it was 6 months ago or 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And just kind of admit it to yourself and get ready for, okay, what do I need to do in order to find opportunities in this shifting market?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a perfect starting point. Is step number one is you got to admit it's real, and I think
Mhm.
the importance and what that point is, a lot of people unfortunately will still say things like this. Well, there's still no inventory in my market. I got it. Okay, I got it. That is true. But let me give you another truth. Another truth is you had 10 buyers saying, find me something, I'll write a contract immediately. And now those same 10 buyers, a certain percentage of them, probably 30%, are saying things like this. Well, I think I'm just going to wait to see what happens to the market. Another three of the 10, they can't qualify anymore. Now, all of a sudden, the interest rates went to a level that they no longer can qualify to purchase what they actually wanted. And now we're having to try to convince them to downgrade what they're actually going to accept as their dream home. So you got people that can't get their dream homes. because now they're disqualified when it comes to their payments in the mortgage because of the interest rates. You got those another 30% of the buyers that you have are sitting here saying, I'm going to wait. So if 30% can no longer qualify for what they wanted, and 30% of them saying, I'm just going to see what happens, I'm going to kick back, push the pause button, that means 6 out of 10 of your buyers are no longer buyers right now. But you're right. There's no inventory. I got it. There's no inventory. But there's a lot less buyers right now that you're working with that are ready, willing, and able to buy. Now, where that takes us, I don't know. But in the short term, if you had 10 and now you only have 4, that's going to actually show up in less sales for yourself. Now, there's all kinds of things that you can do. And that's kind of where we're going to go with this conversation, to make sure that you don't decline if the market was to take a little bit of a dip, because a dip in the market has no bearing on a dip in one's personal production. Not adjusting to a dip in the market influences your personal production. That's what influences production. So the second thing that I have, besides the admit it's real conversation, the second thing that I would recommend would be you got to take 30 minutes and just like hit your own personal pause button for a minute. Instead of like going to sleep tonight, going into the office and frantically opening up your emails and starting to put out fires, show property, write contracts, negotiate home inspections and all that, you need to take a step back for 30 minutes. Take a step back, schedule 30 minutes, and just think about your business for a moment and ask yourself this, or write this down. What are 5 things you must adjust, assuming the market is shifting? Assuming the market is shifting, what's 5 adjustments you need to make in your business right now? The challenge is a lot of times we think of where we need to adjust when we're driving from one appointment to another appointment, or we're driving to the soccer game, or we're driving to the piano recital, and all of a sudden our mind is like on the way. We're like, man, I need to do this and I need to do that. We need to like hit the pause button, stop for 30 minutes, and write down 5 things you must adjust. See, you know what you must adjust. It's easy for you to pull this out of your mind. The key is it's hard for you to find time to actually pull those things out of your mind, write them down, and think about them for a moment. So take 30 minutes and think about 5 things you must adjust.
And we're going to give you 7 or 8 of them here shortly anyway, right? So you can use some of these, or you can come up with your own. But yeah, like you said, you're not gonna be creative. You're not gonna come up with ideas that are gonna be helpful if you're running, if you're in a rush, if you're stressed out. So take 30 minutes and just kind of sit down and just relax, preferably early in the morning where your mind is still fresh, and write down 5 things that are going to help you. Number 3 is going to be set a new daily contact goal. Okay. We suggest a minimum of 20. Now, what I want to do is we wrote down the word contact, but I'm going to cross out the word contact because people get nervous and get scared when they get all crazy when they hear the word contacts. I don't want to make contacts. How about just talk to 20 people a day? Yeah. Okay. In some way, shape, or form, communicate with 20 people. Okay. This is a contact business. This is a sales business. This is the people business. So the more people you talk to, the more business you're going to be able to do. So just communicate, reach out to 20 people per day, and just check in with them and see if they're curious about whether their value of their home has changed or not. See if they have any questions about what's happening in the market. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. You actually could be a good resource for people right now if you just reach out to them and open up the conversation.
Yeah. And you said 20 is like a recommendation or a suggestion. The reality is just set a new daily contact goal. Like whatever your goal is right now, my thought is delete it and set a new one. Now, if you had a goal and it was to do X amount of contacts every day and you were following through on that, it's okay that could be like delete it, and you could set a new goal and it could be the same number. The key is a lot of people have set goals. They're not executing on those goals. They're not doing anything about it. They're not actually following through on the activity. And what I'm saying to you all is, hey, delete your goal. Whatever your goal was, delete it and set a new one. Start fresh. Make a new commitment that this is what you're going to do. It's a new market, and new markets require new commitments. The fourth one that that I have, Abe, is you got to get a coach. Now, if you're in coaching right now, and no matter who you're being coached by, it's fantastic that you have a coach. The question is, are you showing up for every call? And if you don't have a coach, who can be your coach? Is your coach going to be Automobile University, where you go to YouTube and just, or the podcast, go into and get podcasts or audiobooks? That's fine. That could be your coach. An audiobook app could be your coach. YouTube can be your coach. Heck, Real Geeks Mastery can be your coach. Agent Success Academy, it's a program that Abe and I have. We can be your coaches. Or there's dozens and dozens, if not hundreds and hundreds of coaches you can actually pick. But here's what I find, and I've been around the industry a little while, and especially around the coaching scene. And here's what I found. In hot markets, everyone can afford a coach. But what's interesting, they feel like they can afford a coach, and they get a coach, and then they don't do anything the coach says because the market's so hot. And then in a down market, you have fewer people getting into coaching because they're afraid that they can't afford it. But the ones that do, and they actually show up and they follow the coach, whatever the coach is saying, those are the ones that thrive in a shifting market. So get a coach. Again, podcast could be your coach. YouTube can be your coach. An audio book app can be your coach. We can be your coach. Just get involved. What would you say, Abe?
Get in the game, and if you show up and you follow through, a coach is an investment.
Yes.
If you don't show up and then you don't do what you're supposed to do, it's an expense. Then you're wasting money. You've got to show up and you got to do what you're supposed to do and what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, that's for sure. You got to show up to blow up.
Number 5, use tech tools to increase your bandwidth. So specifically, Real Geeks, we're talking about workflows. Okay, we've said this over and over. You've got one of the most powerful features in any CRM out there with the workflows. Okay, use that. Everybody's always asking, okay, how do I hire an ISA? What do you pay an ISA? What do you do? How do you train an ISA? You've got an ISA right there in your CRM. It's called the workflow.
Already paid for.
It's already paid for. It's already in there. We even have the content in there for you. Okay, Greg and I have some content that we put in there. Real Geeks itself also has a bunch of different workflows. Just use them. Okay, it's going to help you connect with more people, and the more people you connect with, again, the more business you're going to do. And you're going to need it because, as Greg said earlier, if it's 30, 40% less people right now that are going to do business than they would have 6 months ago, you've got to talk to at least 30 or 40% more people to do the same amount of business. So don't let your business go down just because the number of transactions in your market goes down. It doesn't have to go hand in hand.
Yeah. And I think we need to, I need to clarify something, because as you said this, I could see where people could get a little bit confused as to what I was saying. I don't think the market will go down. Like, I don't think we'll see a 30 to 40% decrease in total sales around the country. It's like we were at 6 million sales. Do I think there's only going to be $3.5 million, 5 million sales next year? No. I think there'll still be over 5 million, maybe 5.5 million, 5.8 million sales. So when we say 30 to 40% of your database will not do anything, what I mean is like we have hundreds, if not thousands of people in our database that we were never, that a lot of them were never going to do anything this year anyways. They might be 2 years, 3 years out. What I'm referring to is like, it's going to be harder. It's going to take more conversations and more leads for you as an individual to find the ones that are going to do deals right now. And so it's just going to be a lower percentage of our total database is going to transact. But when you look at America, we're still going to have probably between 5 and 6 million transactions. So the business will be there. We just have to sift through the database a little bit more in order to find the business. We got to identify who are the buyers, who are the explorers, and who are the dreamers, and make sure that we're working and make sure that we're the preferred agent of the people that are the buyers. Hey, what does bandwidth mean? Let's talk about that. Use tech tools to increase your bandwidth. How would you describe that?
Yes, I mean it's the amount of people you can talk to within a certain period of time, right? Time is the one thing that is finite. We can't create more time, But by using, so if I'm going to work 6 hours today, okay, it's only going to be 6 hours times 60 minutes. That's all the time that I have personally that I can work. Now, increasing bandwidth would be, okay, how can I get more contacts, talk to more people within that same 6 hours? So using technology, having an ISA, having a team where you can have other people also making contacts, that's how you increase your bandwidth. So basically you can communicate to more people in the same amount of time.
Yeah. And most people, to increase their bandwidth, they have to add physical people. That's usually how people think. It's like, man, I need to get a caller. I need to hire a company that can call my database, or I need to hire an assistant that can call my database, or, an ISA. And then you're dealing with, sometimes you got to train them, and sometimes they don't show up. Sometimes they quit. Sometimes they're just difficult to manage. And what we're talking about, Abe said, is like, hey, you've got kind of like an ISA built into your CRM, and it's called workflows. So that's how you expand your bandwidth. So I just wanted to make sure everyone understood what bandwidth was.
And it shows up every day. It never calls in sick.
Never complains. Yeah. Never calls in late. Never complains.
Doesn't ask for a raise.
Nothing. So the next one here is, my suggestion is how to manage the shift is, we need to rewrite our schedule and eliminate anything you cannot track a positive ROI from. So look at your schedule and look at all the things that are in your schedule. Now, I know you have personal things in your schedule, so I'm not saying, go eliminate all these personal things that you have and, that you can't track an ROI. I'm talking about in business. Look at the things that you're consistently putting in your schedule and ask yourself, what's my return off my investment? And if you have a hard time answering that question, then my suggestion is, you really need to think twice as to whether that needs to be in your schedule. Because when we say, or when Abe says, hey, increase the amount of people that you talk to every day, well, that's going to take time. And so where are you going to find time in your schedule? Well, ask yourself, like, is something else that's in your schedule right now, is that producing a better ROI than actually having 20 conversations every day? And if it's not, then get that other stuff out of your schedule. So now's the time, where we're coming off of a sizzling hot market. Now's the time to kind of reevaluate the schedule, look at it, and determine if there's any dead weight in there, dead activities in there, and get them out. I'd rather have you have empty blocks in your schedule than have time blocked out on things that are useless.
This is a great one, Greg. We could talk for hours on this one. I do want to add one thing. If you don't notice it already, if you haven't done this already, you should calculate what you are worth per hour. What's your value per hour? Okay, because when you do that, it allows you to make your schedule a whole lot easier, because every activity you look at, you say, okay, if I'm worth X number, let's just say $1,000 an hour. If I'm worth $1,000 an hour and I can delegate this out for 20 or 25 or 30, even $50 an hour, then it's easy to make that decision. So one easy way to do it is look at how much your income was last year, divide it by the number of hours that you've worked, and that's what you can calculate your value per hour. The way I do, I actually only count my prospecting time. The time that I spend on the phone, that's the hours that I take my income divided by the number of hours, and that's how I calculate my worth per hour. And I'll try my hardest not to do anything that doesn't bring me at least that much in return. So I think this would be a good time, especially going into a market shift right now. Really be clear on what your time is worth, because I see so many agents just really waste time, like doing tasks that can easily be delegated out.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you're right. We could probably do a whole session just on that subject alone. Good. What else?
So that was number 6. Number 7. This is a big one. Get an accountability partner. Okay. Whether it's someone in your office, whether it's a friend, someone across country. Nowadays, it's so easy with Zoom, and it's just so easy to communicate with people. Get an accountability partner, even 2 or 3. Okay. And set your goals. State them up front, what you're going to do for the week, for the month, for the day, even. Check in with one another in the morning, and then check in at the end of the day, and have some severe accountability. I know you're a big proponent of this. There's been many times where you get us to write $1,000 checks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And we know that if we don't do X, it's going to cost us $1,000 for that one time that we miss X. Guess what? Chances are we're going to get that done. So having an accountability partner really gets you motivated on those days where you just don't have 100% in you to go out and get it done.
Yeah. And Abe, unfortunately, and I'm sure you and I have fallen into this sizzling hot market that we've been in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it can create bad habits. We can loosen up and maybe not be as focused, and all of a sudden these bad habits creep in, and man, it's like it takes seconds to develop a bad habit, and it takes months to actually break a bad habit, right? So the whole accountability conversation is about, hey, look, if the market's going to be shifting, then it's likely we've got things that don't need to be in our schedule, so we need to get them out. There's probably other things, routines and things like that are not helping us reach our goals. There's probably things that we're not doing that we used to do when we were building our business, but we got away from it in a hot market. We need to kind of get those back. It's like not working out for a long time and eating unhealthy and then having to go back into the gym. Much easier to have a gym partner to hold you accountable and show up with you every day than it is to do it on your own. And that's what we're really referring to, that, we've got to proactively prevent a decline when the market changes. In other words, that if we do the same thing we've been doing, but the market's doing something different, it's likely we're going to have a decline in production. So we need to shift immediately what we're doing, the activities that we're engaging in on a daily basis. It's got to be immediate, like right now.
And we have to anticipate that, look, we're human. There's going to be a lot of days. There's been many days where I just didn't feel like going in and making phone calls. Right.
Yeah.
So having that accountability partner that, okay, you've got to show up, gives you that little extra push when you need it.
Yeah. Yeah. The next one I have is work on mental endurance. I know, Abe, you and I talk about that, from time to time. Mental endurance. And what I mean by that is like the mental endurance to stay the entire day, like to work a full day. That would be one thing, right? Because, again, it didn't require a full day's work to do a lot of production in a sizzling hot market. So we got to kind of get back into that habit. Or the mental endurance to, if you're going to really make talking to 20 people every day something, one of your goals, one of your commitments, you're going to have mental endurance to stick in the game and to avoid all the distractions that are going to come your way. If you're focusing on, hey, I'm going to look for listings, for 3 hours every day, and then I'll start doing every rest of my work, it'll take mental endurance to do that. If you say, I'm going to come back in the afternoon and do some follow-up, or maybe you're going to come back in the evening and communicate with people that you couldn't reach during the day, that'll take mental endurance for you to actually follow through on those activities. So you've got to work on mental endurance. I know I've been picking up the running that I've been doing, and I've been listening to a lot of Tony Robbins, focusing on just the mental side while I'm, running. If I'm running for an hour, I'm listening to an hour of Tony Robbins. What I'm working on is the mental side of the business, on the personal, in my personal life, is getting mentally stronger and having more mental endurance so I can stick in the game.
Absolutely. That's a good one there. And that's a necessity there. That's not a luxury.
Yeah.
Number 9, work on your physical endurance. Work on your fitness. Okay, this is a good time to get ahead and I know it's not January 1st, it's not a New Year's resolution, but this is a great time to really kind of get yourself in shape. If you've been kind of slacking off a little bit, whether you fell apart because of COVID, never got back on track, or even if you started the new year with a resolution and kind of got derailed, this is a good time to really get back in, because you're going to need that energy. You need the stamina.
Yeah.
When you feel good, you think clearly. Okay, and when you think clearly, you're going to perform better. So it all starts with your physical state, physical and mental state. So I think this is a good time to really get ahead and get back into shape, or get back into, at least get in the process of getting back into shape.
Yeah, and it really helps. The physical side really helps the mental side, right? It's easier actually to go work on the physical And then from the physical, all of a sudden, without even thinking about it, mentally you become a little bit more positive. Like if you go into the gym or go into some physical activity, even with a slight kind of negative mindset, by the time you're 30 minutes in, you've forgot all about that. You've moved on. And so one way to break a pattern of, say, lack of motivation is to start increasing your physical strength.
Yeah, you mentioned Tony Robbins a couple of minutes ago, and one of the greatest things that he says that's always stuck in my mind is your physiology dictates your psychology. Your motion dictates emotion. Right.
Yes.
And people kind of think in reverse. They think, okay, well, I've got to get my head right. I've got to get motivated. I got to get excited and pumped up to go work out, when it's really the opposite. Go ahead and just start doing some jumping jacks and see if all of a sudden your mood doesn't change. So your physiology should be the leader, and then that'll determine your psychology at that point.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now I think you had a bonus number 10, didn't you? One that you're going to share before we checked out.
Yeah. So the last one, I think this is a really big one for me. It's like you have to know the numbers. You have to know your market.
Yeah.
Okay. For like 2 years now, 2.5 years, we've been complaining when we've lost listings to somebody that's new in the business, doesn't have the experience, doesn't have the track record, and people were just like listing with anybody because it didn't matter, or choosing anybody to help them buy because it really didn't make a difference on who you chose. Okay. Because the market was just so hot. As the market is shifting, your expertise, your market knowledge becomes so much more valuable. So this is the time to really start separating yourself from the rest of the market and really know the data. Be able to have conversations with people about what's happening locally in your market, what's happening on a national level. Be able to have a small conversation about the stock market, about interest rates, okay, about inflation, because all these things are people are talking about now. So in conversations, sellers and buyers are bringing these up right now. So you need to be able to have an intellectual conversation with people on these topics. So this is the time to spend, and it doesn't take much time, 15, 20 minutes a day, having a couple of resources to look at will go a long way in being informed and being able to have these conversations with people.
Yeah, it's funny you said I got a text earlier today, and the text was a PDFs of all the market data for all the markets that we're in. So, the different markets throughout South Carolina, North Carolina, and just a complete year-to-date report. I want to make sure I know those numbers, because those numbers, like our job with buyers was just to find a property that they could write a contract on. That's what our job has been. Let me tell you what the job's getting ready to be. The job's getting ready to be finding the data and the information that makes the buyer comfortable moving forward. That this is going to be the new thing.
You need to say that again. You need to say that again, because that's important. Yeah.
Yes. So before, our job for the buyer was to find them a property to write a contract on. Right now, it's going to be finding the data and the information to help them be comfortable moving forward, making an offer. Because they're watching the stock market, they're watching the inflation stuff, the recession talks, and all of that data. That's not data. All of that news is telling that maybe they shouldn't do anything. What is going to be your counter to that? Because if they're thinking maybe I shouldn't do anything, then what are you going to say? When every buyer comes up to you, you finally find them the perfect property, and they say, well, maybe I don't think we should do anything, the inflation and gas prices. What are you going to say? Are you going to say, well, I really think you should? And you think that's going to be compelling? No. You're going to have data. You're going to have information, and you're going to have to be able to present that to them, and they're going to compare that to all the news that they're listening to, and they're going to make a decision. The game has changed.
Yeah, your job is to bring certainty right now, because everything else out there in the world is uncertainty, or uncertainty. Uncertainty. Yeah. So your job is to bring certainty to the buyers and sellers right now, because that's what they need.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right, man. Hey, great conversation. This is Abe and I doing everything we can on behalf of Real Geeks and the mastermind group here to bring the content, the coaching, the information necessary to help you grow your business. So Abe, thank you again.
Enjoy it, Greg. Take care, guys.
All right. All right. Bye-bye.